Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We are here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence, you'll hear me say it once, you'll hear me say it twice, and I guarantee you'll hear me say it at least 3 times. H is for hope, I is for inspiration, G is for growth, and H is for healing. We all deserve to feel good. And here is a little something about what we do in the space as cannabis nurses and clinicians. And then we're going to dive into our amazing interview today.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship. And what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
It's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers. Oh, there we go. Welcome, everyone. Very honored to be here today. Before we get started, I just want to say today's podcast is being brought to you by Bloom Hemp. Very, very lucky to have a sponsor for today's show. And Bloom Hemp is headquartered in Palm Springs, California. It is a national hemp CBD supplier committed to changing the paradigm of healthcare with cannabis nurse-approved, symptom-targeted formulas supported by a team of medical professionals and an ecosystem of care for ongoing learning. Bloom Hemp is woman and nurse-led and owned, leading with quality, safety, value, and patient-centered care. Bloom Hemp products are USDA organic, CBD grown in the mountains of Colorado, tested for purity, potency, cannabinoid, and terpene profiles, listed on the website by batch. And Bloom Hemp is also very proud to offer a nurse line. So call and speak with a certified holistic cannabis nurse to answer your questions and explain how and why CBD works in the body. All right, so there is our sponsor for today, and I am so grateful and honored to be able to bring the Courage in Cannabis authors to life in our special series honoring the authors of Courage in Cannabis. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to pull up the website really quickly here so you all can see the website, and then we're going to introduce our speaker for today. So let me just share this handy dandy little screen here. Courage in Cannabis. All right. So Courage in Cannabis. Here we go. Volume 1 and Volume 2. So Courage in Cannabis is a compilation of stories written by doctors, lawyers, patients, caregivers, entrepreneurs, and activists. Each story is unique and written with hope of inspiring others. In these times, anyone that chooses cannabis or enters the industry has a story of courage. This is simply because a very short time ago, cannabis was illegal everywhere in North America. The authors in this book took a leap of faith and courage when deciding that cannabis was the option for their lives. Some, you will find, had to go as far as questioning their spiritual faith in the process. The stories in this book are meant to help and motivate others. Ultimately, we believe this book is for you. And as you read and delve into the chapters, you will get to know the authors intimately, learning of their struggles, their triumphs, and the perseverance it took to be able to share their story in the pages of this book. The power is in the stories. And today we get to meet the doctor who made it all happen and orchestrated the development of this amazing book. I'd like to welcome Dr. Bridget Cole Williams, MD, to the show. Welcome. Welcome. I'm going to read your bio before I get you up here. So let's get you up here as well. So Dr. Bridget Cole Williams is a compassionate and knowledgeable medical cannabis specialist, operates an integrative practice with services in Ohio and Michigan. We do cannabis differently. As the founder and former CEO of Green Harvest Health, she has devoted her career to understanding the benefits of medicinal cannabis and advocating for patient-centered care. Board certified in family medicine, Dr. Bridget not only consults with patients and provides medical cannabis cards, but she incorporates holistic practices into her comprehensive approach. Her empathic nature and commitment to education empowers patients through their healing journey. Dr. Bridget is also the acclaimed author of the best-selling book series called Courage in Cannabis. And this is what brings us here today, which sheds light on compelling stories of cannabis and CBD usage. Through her work, she brings these stories to the forefront of the industry of conversation, emphasizing the need to maintain medical cannabis access for patients in need. In addition to her clinical practice, Dr. Williams collaborates with cannabis schools to develop educational curriculum and delivers informative talks at events across the country. She hosts the Reclaim Your Wellness with Dr. Bridget, MD, a segment on Black Star Network, further expanding her impact on the medical cannabis community. Welcome, Dr. Bridget.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you.
No, good. It's so good to be here with you as well. You know, I admire your work. I'm very honored to be able to interview you and all of the other authors, because we do know that the healing is also in those stories. You know, being able to witness one another, the journey that we go on, hold space, and to encourage people to have the bravery to do what's right for them, right? Educate and empower patients to do what is best for them is so powerful. So, you know, as a doctor, a medical doctor, you know, and a lot of us nurses as well, we don't all wake up one day and just say, hey, you know, I'm going to write a book about cannabis, or, hey, I'm going to become a cannabis doctor. There's usually a compelling story. And so I would love our viewers to hear your story about what brought you to the space as a clinician utilizing cannabis as medicine.
Sure. So like you said, it's not, you just don't wake up one day. It's always a journey, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it really started with the fact that I was a family physician at the Cleveland Clinic. And I noticed, you know, probably a little bit too quickly that it was basically a factory job. You know, nothing necessarily against them, but for every patient, there is a diagnosis. For every diagnosis, there's a pill. And when you are seeing patients every 7 to 15 minutes, you don't really ever get to know anyone, right? And my patients were frustrated. I was incredibly frustrated. And I actually started helping patients get off of medications. I put them in on my lunch hour and at the end of the day, and really was developing this plan. One of those patients was a breast cancer survivor and a diabetic, and she asked me about cannabis. And at that period of time, and this is many years ago, I was like, you know, that's impossible. Cannabis has no medicinal value. So I was looking up information to help her understand that. And in the course of it, I realized really what was really out there and what was really being hidden from me, I believe. I followed her in her journey. I helped her with dosing and titration, and I saw her health transform much different from my pharmaceutical patients. And so from there, when it became legal, I wanted to be a part of it. I looked at a card company. They said, we don't care about treatment and diagnosis, and they didn't care about research or any of that. They were just cards for cash. And so I opened my own offices so I could really honor those patients that were looking for something different. So my practice is probably different from most of the cannabis physicians out there. I really focus on wellness and utilizing this as a form of treatment for multiple conditions.
Amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And, and that's the part that's so wonderful about what you do, is that you're seeing patients as a human being instead of a human body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you think of a lot of these medical card places, there's just a lot of bodies coming through,
Yeah.
and here's your permission slip to go shop.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People are making great medicines. People are selling great medicines, but no one's truly interpreting how to use cannabis as medicine. And that's what we do as clinicians.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, honor that. I really do. So, this is just amazing. So, Courage in Cannabis, the book. What was your inspiration? So here you are, you're in this space, you're taking care of these patients, and you're seeing tremendous results. I know myself as a patient, I came off of 18 pharmaceuticals.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
The pills and the procedures were traumatizing patients. And here you are in this space, truly making a difference. I bet that was a little bit of an inspiration to.
Absolutely. It was such that much more of a push and an encouragement to be in the medical space, to be honest, because I was really getting pulled away from it. I felt like what I was doing was not what patients wanted. I became more and more discouraged, and cannabis actually brought me back into the medical space.
Isn't that great? Yeah, that's great. And one of your authors, I love her so much, Nick Pichette.
Yes.
She's out there, nursing taught me how to treat. Cannabis taught me how to heal.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Really, we are in the healing space, and healing is holding space for patients wherever they're at on their journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking them and guiding them and leading them down the path to choose wellness with whatever that may look like. Mm-hmm. So with your book, so what did you wake up one day and say, it's time to put pen to paper?
It really came down to the fact that when we first started seeing patients at the end of 2018, and I was handing over those first cards to patients, at that point in time, everyone was talking about political activism and home grow and social equity and, all these different aspects of being an advocate. And I had a patient, and there were several of these, but one in particular stands out, this big, burly truck driver man. And I'm handing over that card, and he has tears in his eyes. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm taking this card home, and I'm showing my son, my 10-year-old son, that I'm not a pothead. I'm a patient. And I was like, wow, like he's holding this heavy burden. And then another woman came in, and she says, I'm taking my card and I'm going back to church, because it empowered her. And she had felt so disenfranchised because cannabis was what she used for her anxiety. And there were so many more stories like that. And I was like, no one's talking about this aspect, right? Everyone is dealing more with the legislator, but not the people. And so I started writing down the stories, and I actually had a book title, had someone that was wanting to publish it. And I paused because I felt like I was taking something away from this community. I just said, well, let's just hold, I'll keep writing. COVID happened. And then I learned about anthologies where people could write their own stories and benefit from them as well. So I put a hold on the book I was writing, and then I became a part of someone else's anthology to learn more about it. And she's been my continued mentor in the space ever since, Dawn Leak. And I created Courage in Cannabis, bringing these people together. And it's so much more than I ever expected, right? I could have easily just taken their stories and published them, but we're a community, we're a networking group, we're a family of people that believe in what we're doing. And that in itself has been incredibly rewarding.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you choose your authors? You're on volume 1,
mm-hmm.
and I'm going to be interviewing volume 2.
Yes.
The new book that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you choose your authors for volume 1 and then volume 2? Like, what was the criteria or?
Volume one it was some people that I knew and I already knew their story. There were people that I had a lot of respect for and asked for them to refer people that they knew to me. And so it ended, and I put out some shout outs into the universe, and there were people that came to me. So it was really this collection of people that kind of, authentically came together and it made sense for them. Right. Um, the volume two was very much different because even though we did still some of that, I spent 2 years traveling the country doing talks, and what I was doing had transformed so much that there's these stories. People that knew about the book the first time couldn't be in the book the first time, now definitely wanted to be in the second. But there were people that influenced me in my journey. And so we have our full chapters, but we also have these testimonials or quotes from people that really touched me, and I call them the sparks. These are people that have a voice in the cannabis space. They really, in being introduced to them, it ignited even more and inspired me in so many ways to work with other people. And so our sparks are really amazing voices, controversial voices, people that have really gone the long road in the cannabis space and in all sorts of different ways. And then our authors are all different, every walk of life along the way as well. And so it was a little bit of a different search and connection, but I believe, people that are meant to be there, they find their way. And this is book 2 out of many that will continue.
That's so amazing. That's amazing. So the next question. So what is next for Courage and Cannabis book series? All right. So we have volume 2 that I'm going to be interviewing on for the remainder of this year. And then what's next?
So so I'm a big fan of Chicken Soup for the Soul. Like I remember reading these and getting those little excerpts from it, and they're being so inspirational. And that's one thing you'll notice, that the stories are meant to be inspirational for you to walk away and feel good and realize that there's hope, right? And so we will start doing some themed books, really looking at specific topics. Right now, the first 2 books are very generalized, anything and everything that really pertains to our subject. But then we'll start going into themed books. We'll probably do some ebooks where to kind of fill the gap as we're kind of pushing our other books ahead. But I've been asked to do books specifically for organizations so that those members collectively are the ones that write their book, but they wanted to be a part of our series, as well as getting more even deeper into the holistic space and looking at psychedelics and other ways that healing in the holistic space needs a voice.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Because actually, this is exciting. We're launching our 6 continuing education units on psychedelics and the endocannabinoid system and the endocannabinoid dome. So we're offering, education on that as well. Because when you are working with psychedelics, you're truly completely engaging all aspects of the endocannabinoid system and the endocannabinoid dome. And as clinicians, we are in the psychedelic renaissance where more and more patients, just like cannabis, are going to be exploring that. So what a great idea just to keep pushing the needle forward with plant medicines and all of the other infusions for healing. Amazing. Amazing. So let's get back more into what you do in the space. So how do you combine? You're a family medicine medicinal practitioner. You do have a conventional medical practice, but you also do medical cannabis. So how do you combine them both into your
Gosh, I guess initially I figured this would be a small part of what I already did. And in the beginning, that is true. But as things developed, cannabis is a beast, and it grew and grew. And so I still do some family medicine. I spend a lot of my time in the cannabis space, and also being an empowerment coach. But I'm looking for ways to give more voices in this realm of more holistic healing, but also keeping that traditional medicine that works and speaks to people still alive. So besides the coaching, and I work with an herbalist on a daily basis for my patients, we're looking at creating a weight loss clinic. And the reason is because there's a lot of pharmaceuticals out there, though people focus on the munchies when it comes to cannabis, there's actually different aspects of the cannabis plant that can actually be really beneficial for weight loss, as well as dealing with emotional eating. And so we're working on that right now to open that pretty quickly. And then just growing every aspect of what we do. I believe integrative medicine is really the way to go. And it speaks to people. And, there's no one fix for anyone.
Right.
And so being able to educate and provide options for people that they can connect to, I think is really important.
Awesome. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so here we go. I like this question too, because this is important. How can medical cannabis conversations be normalized in society? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is we have a new virtual assistant that just started. She's absolutely amazing, but she's really new to cannabis. And so, it's really interesting, and cultural differences too, coming from a different country and here in the United States and working. So you just have to, how do we normalize that? Because culturally it's very, very different for multiple, and specifically in different countries where it's still illegal. So how do we normalize that in a way to make people feel comfortable? Because it was very interesting just to hear her say, we don't talk about that.
Right.
Like, well, we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And first of all, I think that I never want to ostracize people that are coming from places or from, gaining information where they don't understand cannabis, because propaganda is incredibly persuasive, and I don't want anyone to feel bad about that. Right.
Exactly.
And I never put myself in a place where I'm trying to convince you of. I just think people should be able to make informed decisions. So you need information to be able to do that. So what I think is next is more and more outward facing education. And I hope the book series does that a lot of what you see in the space are people that either want to be in the industry, that are open to the industry, or all the way enthusiasts. But we don't have enough information for the person that is more reluctant, that has a little bit, finds this embarrassing or absolutely taboo. And so I'm hoping the book gives that option. You can read it in the privacy of your home. Every author's information is at the end of every chapter. You can reach out to them personally, and they look forward to that. And so that is one way we're doing this, to normalize it, right? Other things that we do, I do a regular show every Monday on Black Star Network, where it talks about cannabis, but it talks about just more medical topics in general. And what I love about it is that in the midst of talking about what, the latest news information around healthcare, and diabetes and hypertension and what have you, cannabis is mixed in there just like anything else. We don't pull it apart. We don't make it, this is a segment you might not want to watch. No, it's medicine. It's all in there together. And so by not blinking an eye, I think that helps normalize it. And then in the next couple of months, I'll have a app that I'm creating called Reclaim. And with Reclaim, it allows people to connect, to have conversation. If they want medical cards in their state, they can do that. But it's an opportunity to have little bits of information that they can take in. People get overwhelmed. And so the real purpose of it is that you can get what you need in bite-sized bits on this. And we have working with all sorts of great people to do it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. That's so good. And then speaking of normalizing, okay, the next thing, as clinicians, oftentimes I'll have people that'll say to me, Sherry, what do you think about recreational cannabis? How do we normalize that? Because here we go. This is my big thing. Here we are as doctors and nurses telling people to go out and enjoy themselves and to have a good time, and then we judge them for it if they choose cannabis.
Right.
Right. So how do we normalize adult use recreational cannabis in a way that isn't stigmatizing patients, but also not not being demonized? How can recreational cannabis use not be demonized? How can we actually get more clinicians on board to understand harm reduction? Because when you look at all the different substances, I literally went through all the different substances, every single organ system, and you can't even compare. It's not even in the same universe.
Yes.
How cannabinoids can support. So if I'm going to have a recreational experience with any type of substance, it's going to be a substance that's going to have a health benefit.
Right. Absolutely. And I think we need to we have to give a little grace, right? Because people don't understand. And we're pushing people to take it in that here is this plant that is nearly a pharmacy of information and health benefits, and that we can utilize in so many different ways. And on the flip side of that, can also safely be used recreationally. There isn't anything else really like that, right? There's some plant, aspects and, psychedelics and mushrooms and what have you, but even that is still foreign to most people. So we have to give a little bit of grace that people are going to be slow with this. And it's not, and we are not being hypocritical in saying medicinal and recreational in the same conversation. It is just a very unique plant in itself, right?
And I like to say too, the use and the misuse. You're either using cannabis appropriately,
yes,
or you're not. It's as simple as that.
Right. Absolutely. And that is a big part of the conversation with my patients, that I'm always asking, are you using cannabis, or is cannabis using you?
There you go.
And if they can't wrap their head around, if they're not really sure, then that obviously leads to a deeper conversation. And I'm very much aware that for some people, they use it to hide and disappear from society and life and problems, while other people, it allows them to get back into life, right? And so that is why having having physicians and nurses and people that can kind of stand from the outside with the education to help guide you are really important, because some people do fall down a slippery slope and go down the rabbit hole with this. And just like it may be benign to you, just for someone else, shopping and gambling takes them down a very dark road. Cannabis might be benign for some people, but it might lead them down a dark road for others. And so having some input is really, really important.
And this brings me to my next question too, is how do you see nurses fitting into cannabis care for patients?
I think everyone that has that frontline perspective is incredibly important. And so again, that nurses have been critical as far as education, as far as connection. I'm sure you're aware of seeing this happen, where I have patients come in, tell my nurse one thing, and then they're afraid to tell me. And I'm walking in the room right afterwards, because there is a comfort and a trust they're afraid the doctor might create judgment. And that is an issue in the medical space in itself. We'll leave that for another day, right? But you have this ability to connect, and you're that frontline person that can have a great influence. And so not only is it important that you maintain that and allow cannabis to be part of the conversation, and I love how the nursing community has not shied away as much as the physician community has shied away, is probably the least that I could say with that one, right? But I love the fact that you have stood up and said, this is a part of medicine and we can be here and support our patients, right? But I also think it's really important that we bring in other frontline people that may not even be in the medical space. Cannabis is very unique. And so I'm working with a group right now that, not necessarily cannabis, but we are working with hairstylists to be able to identify certain aspects of a conversation that might actually be identifying lung cancer. And we're actually going to be doing this on a lot of different levels, because hairstylists, massage therapists, obviously sometimes your clergy, they're frontline people. They tell you, they meet you and see you in your everyday walk. And if they say cannabis is horrible, that's the end of the conversation for many of them. You have an ability to influence that cannot be denied. And the more that we're able to share this information, the more you can help patients.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as nursing is concerned, this was the big push for me to come out of the cannabis closet myself in 2018. I've been using cannabis as medicine and developed Green Nurse back in 2015, but I didn't really come out of the closet until 2018, when the National Council, State Boards of Nursing, which is the nursing regulatory board that puts out the nursing exam for all nurses to get licensed in each individual state. They wrote a 64-page document in the Journal of Nursing Regulation stating that all nurses, nurse practitioners, and nursing students must have and advanced practice nurses must have 6 essential areas of knowledge when it comes to cannabis as medicine. And the American Cannabis Nurses Association has been pushing and has been working with the ANA to get this as credentialed as a subspecialty. So really, really excited to be part of the American Cannabis Nurses Association on the board of directors, helping with that process to truly get this into nursing curriculum.
Yes.
So nurses are going to be required. So I'm hoping and praying, and we're truly leading the way in trying to make this happen, because plants save lives. You know, they save lives. And it's just when you just cannot compare. And when you're looking at the pharmaceutical model, the pills and procedures, and how we see the trajectory, the downward spiral, there's just nothing. It's just bad chemistry. That's the bottom line. Multiple pharmaceuticals is just bad chemistry.
But it's just amazing to me how divided we can be. How can we both be seeing the same patient? How can we both be seeing the exact same patient? And you are given these guidelines for openness and understanding and more education in this area. And the physicians are given the information to not talk about it, that they'll kicking the patient out of the practice. I used to have a list of physicians' offices that would take cannabis patients when my cannabis patient would get kicked out. So I had a whole list of pain management, primary care, all of these nephrologists, all of them, right? And it just doesn't make any. How can we not be on the same page is just baffling to me.
Completely agree. So, I also see too here that you are you're creating educational curriculums for cannabis schools. We're nurse educators by trade. So at Holistic Caring and the Green Nurse, we create education for nurses for continuing education credit. So I'd love to talk a little bit about the education that you're creating. I actually have an opportunity, which is going to be really interesting, to teach a class. I've been my second pre-med class at a college here in California, which is going to be very, very interesting. So curious to know about how you're educating other professionals, creating educational curriculums for cannabis schools, and what's that like, and what has the receptivity been?
Absolutely. So I started working in the education realm with the Cleveland School of Cannabis 2019, was teaching with them through and past COVID, and started at first teaching the curriculum they had there, and then creating actually a CBD course, a complete course, just so that there was a better understanding of that area, and then also updating some of the curriculum that they already had in place. And after that, I started doing, instead of complete courses, just small seminars for them, as well as something called the Cannabis Hub, or cannahub.edu.com, and which are short videos that you can go to for someone that might be a little bit more outward facing and they just want to get bite-sized, pieces of information on all sorts of different realms. And so I participated in that, and that's always out there and available out in the World Wide Web, right? And then I am now doing some work with Texas A&M, working on actually a research paper. And then I'm going to start go down there, do some education with them the latter part of this year.
Nice. Excellent. Well, then this brings me into CBD. You were creating CBD education. So one of the questions too is, what is new in cannabis and CBD product development, and what are some of your favorite CBD products?
Geez. Okay. So CBD, it waxes and wanes, right? And I believe as we get closer to legalization, possibly in the next, I'm going to say 10 years. I don't know if it'll be before that, to be honest. There will be a lot of the medical patients are going to go back to their physicians, because the pharmaceutical company will have a whole line of products that will be covered by insurance and be FDA approved. The recreational realm will be booming, in all things recreational. And then there'll be this hub of more of the wellness market. And CBD, I think, will have a big push in that space at that point. I have 2 CBD lines, a medicinal line, Green Harvest Health, at greenharvesthealthcbd.com. But I also have, I personally don't have a lot of medical conditions. And I realized, though I love CBD gummies to help me sleep at night, there were other things that I was looking for. So I really created a brand for the things that I want. And that is Embody, which is a beauty and lifestyle brand. And so I've been formulating products for other people for a while. And so it was time to kind of start doing it a little bit more for myself. So I created an intimate massage oil, as well as we have a body butter and bath powder that is reminiscent of Calgon. If you're of a certain age, you know Calgon.
Hold on, take me away.
Oh,
I'm at that age. No.
I love that. And so, I wanted a skincare line because I really think CBD is amazing for balancing your skin. And I love hyaluronic acid and what have you. So I made some skincare products as well. And so along with more lifestyle, like organic rose petal cones and things that I just think elevate the experience. And then also I do believe the normalizer in the cannabis space will be drinks, right? Because we're a drink drunk country. Smoking will always be demonized on some level, but I think drinking will always be acceptable. And so as we do more and more on the more scientific side with CBD and are able to do some chemical processing where some things I'm not a big fan of, like Delta 8, but we are able to replicate Delta 9 with CBD. Well, there's going to be just more and more options that are available for people that can be beneficial. So I think there'll be a big boom in the CBD space once we start kind of pushing people into more of their lanes, I guess.
Yeah.
And the more research that we have, the more this will become even more accessible, and we'll know more about it to do more with it. So I think there's a lot more to come. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube at this point, right? Like we're here for.
I'm a big fan of the CBD drinks and actually THC infused beverages as well.
Yes.
I just find it to be very tasty, very refreshing, non-alcohol. I'm not a fan of alcohol for all you that are out there that know me. I'm not. I really want people to be healthy. I've just seen alcohol cause so much damage.
So many problems. So many. And then people don't understand that, with proper use, you don't get that problem. Those same highly addictive issues and destroying families the way that you get with alcohol. And I just went to this great event and I didn't even think about it, but I'm walking around and after a while, and there was so many juice drinks and this and that and the other. And I was like, there's no alcohol here because it was a cannabis expo.
Right.
Didn't even occur to me. And I was like, and look how nice it is. And look how people, there's no issues, there's no fighting, there's no vomiting. All of the messiness that you get with alcohol is not there. So that's part of the reason we created Blossom Bar, is because we met some people that were owned wedding venues. And they said, we are sick of the sloppy weddings that destroy our property and break our stuff. And what can we do? And so there's some really great options you can do almost anywhere.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. I'm a favor of that as well. Okay. So here you go. What has been the most rewarding part of your work in the medical cannabis industry?
Empowering patients, because it's one thing to provide something for them that works. It's another thing that it works and then they feel more in control and ownership of their own wellness. That is when it gets exciting, right? It's another thing to provide stuff for people and they're always tethered to you in some way. But when they start to get it and start listening to their body again and start understanding what they respond to and don't respond to, and cannabis is a piece of that, and meaning that it's not just THC, but CBD and other cannabinoids, and they start making that connection to how their body really works, that's the most rewarding.
Yeah, I love it. So powerful. So here's one. What advice would you give to aspiring cannabis doctors or entrepreneurs in the industry?
Be focused, know what your goal is and get educated in that. We don't need more people searching for the green rush and compromising their values and integrity in the process. but we need people that are focused on good patient care or good product, creating great products or whatever aspect that is important to you. But we don't need anyone else that's just chasing fame and fortune and don't care about the people that will be affected by that. So, be focused and make good decisions.
Yep. People-powered movement, right? That's what it is. Courage in Cannabis. So you have an event coming up, Courage in Cannabis event coming up this Saturday.
Yes,
correct?
yes. So the
Talk about
whole
that.
weekend is going to be a little crazy. So, in the course of it, because Courage in Cannabis is more than a book, it's also a community. Some of our authors are really interested in learning how to communicate their stories better. And so I went to Nurse Heather Manis, who has the Cannabis Network, and she created a speaking bureau workshop for us. So it's been a 7-week workshop that some of our authors have participated in, and we're doing a showcase on Saturday. So they will present their stories, little 10-minute talks. It's amazing to see how they blossom, and even in the short period of time gained more confidence in how they share their stories. And so you will find that if you go to any of our social media, Dr. Bridget MD or Courage and Can with 2 N's, Courage and Can Books on Instagram or Facebook, you will see the information. The link is there for you to join. And if you're not sure, then, send us a message as well.
I'll
But
put it in the comments.
oh,
too.
great. Yeah.
I'll
And
put it
then
in
our link tree will have all the information for Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Be a part of this. It's an amazing movement.
Really, really exciting. So grateful to have you on today. You are the woman that is making it happen. Courage in Cannabis. I'm very honored to be able to present series honoring the authors of Courage in Cannabis. Very grateful for this opportunity to share your message and really, truly decrease stigma, because we all deserve to feel good and we all deserve to live our best lives.
Absolutely.
So this wraps up our show. Our next guest is going to be Candy Flores, who is your right-hand woman for Courage in Cannabis. Really, really excited to have her. She's part of Holistic Caring Network as well, and she's taken our Health Coach Certificate program. So we're really excited to have her on. She's going to be coming on August 9th, and we're going to have our show be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on August 9th. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember what it's all about. It's truly about living your best life, helping others do the same, and we will see you next week.
Okay.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses Group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.